Bonjour, bienvenue à toutes et à tous. Merci de nous rejoindre en salle de presse pour notre rendez-vous quotidien sur EBS. Nous sommes le mardi 7 juillet. Je commence comme chaque mardi avec l'agenda du collège. Demain, dans la continuité du Pacte vert pour l'Europe, le collège va adopter 2 stratégies, l'une pour l'intégration de notre système énergétique et l'autre pour le secteur de l'hydrogène. Ces stratégies contribueront toutes les deux à notre objectif d'une Europe climatiquement neutre d'ici 2050, car le secteur énergétique est, je vous le rappelle, responsable à 75% de nos émissions de gaz à effet de serre. Les stratégies seront présentées ici en salle de presse par le vice-président exécutif Frans Timmermans et la commissaire à l'énergie Kadri Simpson dans le cadre du compte-rendu du collège. Je passe maintenant la parole à Marta pour une annonce sur le plan d'investissement pour l'Europe en Bulgarie. Marta.
Good afternoon. Today I would like to highlight a different type of support which is being provided by the Investment Plan for Europe. This is not financing but technical assistance. The European Investment Advisory Hub is providing support to the municipality of Burgas in Bulgaria. Colleagues from the European Investment Bank will help prepare the project to build the first standalone specialized children's hospital in the country. This technical assistance will cover, among others, a feasibility study, functional planning, and preliminary designs for the hospital. It will also help the municipality to prepare its applications for financing, including potentially from the European Fund for Strategic Investments, or EFSI. And more information is available on our press release today. Thank you.
Merci Marta. J'appelle maintenant Daniel qui est en ligne pour une annonce dans le domaine de l'agriculture. Daniel. Voilà.
Oui, vous m'entendez?
Nous t'entendons, Daniel. Bonjour.
Oui, parfait. Bonjour. La Commission a adopté aujourd'hui un ensemble de mesures supplémentaires exceptionnelles pour soutenir le secteur vitivinicole à la suite de la crise du coronavirus et de ses conséquences pour le secteur. Le secteur fait partie des secteurs agroalimentaires les plus durement touchés par cette crise et ces mesures s'ajoutent au paquet récemment adopté le 4 mai dernier qui a profité au secteur du vin grâce à la flexibilité offerte par les programmes de soutien du marché. Vous trouverez aussi un communiqué de presse en ligne avec plus d'informations sur ce sujet.
Thank you, Daniel. Now I call Johannes, who will give you some news on what the Commission is doing in the field of cybersecurity.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, indeed, today we have some news to share with you from the field of cybersecurity. First, we have launched a public consultation to kickstart the revision of EU legislation on the security of information systems. The pandemic has shown how important it is to ensure the resilience of our networks and infrastructure, in particular when it comes to sensitive sectors such as healthcare. This is why the Commission wants to upgrade the current rules, which are in force since 2016. Second, the Commission also wants to upgrade the role of women in the cyber domain, and this is why we've launched, together with the European Cybersecurity Organization, a special registry for talent for women, following last week's skills agenda. It's called Women for Cyber, and it's an open, user-friendly database for female experts in the field of cybersecurity, and the aim is to address the growing demand for cybersecurity professionals and to promote women expertise in this field. As always, we have more information in the daily news.
Merci, Johannes. Maintenant, j'aimerais vous présenter notre nouvelle porte-parole, Nabila Masrali, si on peut se connecter. Voilà Nabila, qui rejoint notre équipe en charge des affaires extérieures et de la politique de sécurité. Je pense que beaucoup d'entre vous la connaissent déjà du mandat précédent, où Nabila est déjà venue à ce podium pour vous informer des derniers développements dans le monde et de la position de l'Union européenne. Elle nous rejoint du Service européen pour l'action extérieure, où elle s'occupait de la communication sur nos pays voisins du Sud et le Moyen-Orient. Elle couvrira tous les dossiers liés à l'Asie et au Pacifique, à l'Amérique latine, à l'Afrique et à la défense. Donc un vaste portefeuille, mais Nabila, tu as déjà l'expérience de cette salle de presse. Donc nous sommes ravis que tu nous rejoignes à nouveau pour une deuxième expérience. Comme on dit, une fois que l'on a travaillé au service du porte-parole, on y revient toujours. J'en sais quelque chose. Voilà, Nabila est dès aujourd'hui parmi nous et donc répondra à vos questions sur ces sujets en cas de besoin. Merci Nabila, à tout à l'heure. Enfin, notez que la commissaire aux Affaires intérieures, Ylva Johansson, participe aujourd'hui à la réunion informelle des ministres de l'Intérieur par vidéoconférence, la première sous la présidence allemande du Conseil de l'UE. Les 2 points à l'ordre du jour sont le sauvetage en mer et l'établissement d'un partenariat européen des polices. Une conférence de presse se tiendra à l'issue de la réunion vers 15 h et je vous demanderai donc d'y poser toutes vos questions relatives aux affaires intérieures. Ceci clôture nos annonces pour aujourd'hui. Nous passons à vos questions et la première, je vois, est de David.
Oui, merci Eric et bonjour. J'ai une question migration. Je voudrais savoir si vous avez quelques commentaires par rapport à ce qui se passe à Malte, où il y a un navire commercial avec 52 migrants à bord dans des conditions dishumaines. Le navire s'appelle Thalia, c'est un navire qui normalement transporte des animaux. Et les autorités maltaises, même si le sauvetage a eu lieu dans la SAR zone de Malte, refusent le débarquement. Merci.
David, merci. Comme je l'ai dit juste à la fin de mes annonces, aujourd'hui, il y a un conseil Affaires intérieures qui se tient avec une conférence de presse avec la commissaire, Madame Johansson, et donc, bien entendu, comme toujours dans ces occasions-là, nous te demandons de lui poser la question lors de cette conférence de presse. La parole lui revient, bien entendu, en premier lieu sur ces sujets aujourd'hui. Je passe la parole à Nikolai.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Nikolai, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Nikolai Nielsen, EU Observer. Well, I actually had a question concerning migration as well, but
yeah. I think the situation is clear today.
Yes, well, I'll try anyway. So, anyways, I mean, you mentioned Commissioner Johansson later on today, but she also spoke about new mechanisms during the Libe Committee debate yesterday on the possibility to monitor and verify reports of pushbacks and other violations at the external borders, notably in Greece and Croatia. And I was wondering if you have any more details on that proposal or those ideas, and when do you intend to come forward with it? Thank you.
No, I think the same applies on that. And if you're not able to pose your question during the press conference, obviously we'll be happy to come back to you on those issues afterwards. I pass the floor to Jakob. Hopefully not on an interior affairs question. Jakob, you need to switch on your mic. No mic. It's not just the camera that you need to switch on, but also your microphone. Okay, if not, let's see if there are other issues for us today. Yeah, but Oliver, I see you have a question, but indeed, it's a question that we have already answered quite a few times on reopening of the press room. I'll be happy to come back to you bilaterally on this, but it's definitely not before the summer break, and we do not yet have a date for that. It depends on a certain number of factors which are outside the control of the SPP on its own. Jakob, let's try again. Yes, it seems to be working. Go ahead. but the source of your mic now is not the right one.
Okay.
Yes. We've made it.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Good morning.
See you.
I discovered that Firefox doesn't like this, so I'm using Google as a browser. You'll be happy I don't have a question on internal affairs, but I do have a question on imports from Xinjiang. One MEP, Jordi Cañas, wrote a letter to Commissioner Hogan today asking him to stop imports made by forced labor in Xinjiang camps, especially hair products, apparently also with human hair. The US authorities have stopped such imports, but in Europe, I haven't heard anything about it yet. I wanted to ask you if you have knowledge of such imports and whether you can exclude that there are products imported into the EU made with forced labor, and what measures the Commission is willing to take.
Thank you, Jakob. I'm actually not sure that it's a question for Danielle. I think it would probably rather be for Nabila. Since it's a China-related question. I'm not sure whether she will have anything to say at this stage already. Nabila, do you have any elements on this?
No, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't have additional elements on the specific letter that you are mentioning. So I'm afraid.
And in general, on imports with forced labor.
Jakob, if I can be so bold, if you need to wait until Nabila has finished her sentence before retaking the mic, or else you cut her off. Nabila. Can you hear us, Nabila? No. Okay. Yes, we hear you.
You hear me. I'm
sorry. Did you hear the question? The question whether you had any elements of information on forced labor and the issue of trade.
What I can say is is basically that our on China in general, and the European Union is very clear on the situation in especially with forced labor in Xinjiang. We have said very often and very before that what we our discussions. I'm very sorry. I have to come back on you on this. Very sorry.
It's the first day, so obviously you need to warm up a bit. Jakob, I think we will come back to you on this bilaterally if you don't mind. Okay? Thanks a lot. Catherine, bonjour.
Bonjour. Bonjour Eric, c'est Catherine ici.
Ça va?
Bon, ça va très bien. But listen, I have a question. The Foreign Secretary, the British Foreign Secretary, has introduced a sanctions regime to target people who have committed human rights violations. Now, I know that the European Union is looking at this, and I was just wondering, would it be possible to have an update of maybe where we are on that? Is it something that's going to be developed and in the near future? Thank you.
So your question is not on the British measures, it's on the European measures.
Yes.
Question for Peter. No, it's in English.
Okay,
we
thank you very much.
The jokes now.
Yes, very seriously. So we announced earlier this year the work on the EU Global Human Rights Strategy, and the work is ongoing. The discussions are the preparation is in full force. So at this stage, I would not go into discussions, but into details of these discussions and preparations. But we are aiming to conclude soon, and then of course inform and publish properly.
Thank you, Peter. Jakob, you have raised your hand again follow up on this?
It's a different question. On EU-India, can we expect a video conference and when? And also on trade, the Commission announced in INTA last week that it was working on a new enforcement instrument separate from the enforcement regulation, which Denis Redonnet said would allow the Commission to react very quickly when countries are using trade measures to blackmail, I think were his words, the EU. So in particular with digital tax, for example, where the US has threatened tariffs. And he said this would be a new instrument and that the Commission would work on this. Can you give us any more details on the timeline, when this is planned? Will there be any communication on this year still? That would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. I'm afraid that on the EU-India summit, I will have to ask for your patience. There is no official announcement that can yet be made on this summit. And on trade enforcement, I pass the floor to Daniel.
Yes, indeed. The question relates to a remark made last week during the meeting in the European Parliament, and it's pretty straightforward. This is one of the questions that the Commission included in the EU trade policy review consultation note published on the 20th of June about how the EU should address, among other things, coercive practices by third countries and whether existing instruments should be improved or additional ones considered. So what triggers this is the fact that the EU has recently observed a return to the use of coercive actions by some trading partners, and further thought is needed on how the EU could respond to such actions. And to protect the Union's interests and rights, it could be warranted to create an EU legal instrument for dissuading or offsetting such actions. The EU would do so in a manner that is, of course, consistent with the international law, while this coercive action itself would be in breach of international law. So the idea to study is whether such an instrument might be created separately from the enforcement regulation. But any legislative proposal, of course, by the Commission would follow only after the conclusion of that examination. And this process is still very much at an early stage.
Thank you very much, Daniel. I only see one other hand raised for us, so we will move potentially to another issue. Camille. Camille, tu es...
Oui, j'avais une question. Oui. Vous
bon.
m'entendez ou pas?
Absolument, oui.
Ah, super. Donc, bonjour, Camille Cerie-Gessan de l'Agence Europe. C'était sur Hong Kong, mais je pense que c'est plutôt pour toi. Je voulais savoir, fin juin, lors du sommet avec la Chine, à l'issue du sommet, Madame von der Leyen avait dit qu'elle était en consultation avec les partenaires internationaux pour voir comment réagir à la loi sur la sécurité nationale. Maintenant que cette loi a été officiellement adoptée, je voulais savoir où on en était dans ces consultations. Merci.
Non, la présidente n'a pas dit qu'elle était elle-même en contact avec les partenaires internationaux, mais que l'Union européenne était en contact avec ses partenaires. Et donc, c'est le haut représentant, vice-président, qui, bien entendu, coordonne ces contacts. Je ne sais pas si, Peter, il y a des choses que nous pouvons dire pour le moment. Il me dit que non, donc nous n'avons pas de nouveautés à vous apporter aujourd'hui quant à ces contacts et leurs résultats. Voilà, je ne vois pas d'autres mains levées pour nous aujourd'hui. Et donc, je vous remercie de votre participation et vous donne rendez-vous demain pour le compte-rendu du collège et la conférence de presse sur l'intégration des systèmes énergétiques et la stratégie hydrogène. À demain, merci.